Hello AP students, this is Mrs. Politsky and I have notes for Chapter 12, Psychological Disorders, and we're going to talk a little bit about adjustment issues and a little bit about some of the consequences of labeling and some of the differences when we talk about the cultural context of psychological disorders. So, adjustment disorders and other conditions, the majority of everyday psychological problems involves making some kind of choice, dealing with confusion, frustration, loss, and the DSM-5 gives these problems a category, sometimes known as adjustment disorders. In our life, sometimes shyness can be kind of an adjustment issue. Being shy is a common problem, but it's not necessarily a DSM disorder, and rather shyness is a distressing pattern of avoiding or withdrawing from social contact. At the extreme, shy behavior may resemble a social phobia or an avoidant personality disorder. As afflicted, individuals seek or limit or escape from social interaction. Shyness and other forms of social anxiety are also learned responses, so that even those who are not born shy can acquire a shy behavior pattern. What are some of the consequences of being labeled? Well, diagnostic labels can compound a problem. Labeling people as mentally disturbed can have both a serious and long-lasting consequence aside from the mental disturbance itself. A label of depression or mania or schizophrenia can be a stigma that follows an individual forever. Mistaken diagnosis of cancer can be a cause for celebration, but almost never is a diagnosis for a mental disorder found to be wrong. The diagnosis label may also become part of a cycle of neglect resulting from an inferior status accorded to people with mental disorders. The most extreme reaction against labeling has come from a radical psychologist known as Thomas Szasz, who claimed that mental illness is a myth. Szasz, for the most part, argued that the symptoms used as evidence of mental illness were merely medical labels that give professionals an excuse to intervene in what is really a social problem. So, deviant people violating social norms. The context, culturally, when we talk about psychological disorders. There's an ecological model. This model basically states that abnormality is viewed as an interaction between individuals and the social and cultural context. The disorder results from a mismatch between a person's behavior and the needs of the situation. Cultural influences, both the prevalence of psychological disorders and symptoms that disturb people display. It also showed that schizophrenic symptoms, such as auditory hallucinations, show some kind of cultural variability. The DSM-5 started to devote a section on cultural specific disorders, and psychiatry has held on to basically three myths. The myth that biology creates psychological disorders have a similar prevalence in all cultures. The myth that biology creates a psychological disorder while culture merely shapes the way that a person experiences it. And then finally, the myth that culture-specific disorders occur only in exotic places rather than here at the home. Thank you very much.